that. If not, I will show you the easiest way how to keep a shape going. The only mistake I used to make that I wouldn't breathe anything that I don't want to breathe, making a very small bezel setting. Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. And today we will be diving into the sea world. And you know, I never been a sea girl. Like, I was more of a lake girl, I would say. So to bring you a topic like this, it's like very interesting to me as well, because I never thought I will be saying that to you. I decided that shank ring would be perfect option, which is very common when it comes to ring designs, holding pieces, if you want to create something heavier or bigger to fit all those small creatures in one place. And I wanted to be a bit messy, very creative, packed with starfish, maybe shell, pearls. It's just everything what reminds you of the sea. I even think to put this blue gorgeous topaz, which is very tiny, just to have even more SeaWorld going. I'm just like bringing and shaking to you. But we have this gorgeous blue topaz. I hope you can see that. If not, I will show you. If not, I will show you in different angle, but we have a gorgeous blue topaz, which is made like a bezel, so it won't be very hard to set that in, and it will be like a sea drop in that whole beautiful creation. So if you're not into shells or starfish, it doesn't matter. I will show you how to make a shank ring, how to solder small pieces on your ring when it's like very important not to lose shape. I will show you my techniques, how I'm making, and yeah, let's get started. This time we're starting with the base, which is shank ring, and for that we need 2 rings. And I like to overlap just to have that round shape already going, and then saw it out. In my practice, I would say is the easiest way how to keep a shape going and to have like same ring size, because we need 2, we need them perfectly the same and make a shank out of it. And we're working with 17 gauge D-shaped wire, by the way. I made that one myself on a rolling mill. That's when you can get very custom. When we create a tension with fingers, with pliers, choose as your own, we have to saw it again, because then we will get that perfect connection, which we want before setting to solder. It's very important. Always do that. At least I do that always. And then we don't have any problem to join that, and that solder is melting where it has to melt, just in that tiny micro space. And now it's the part when we are creating the angle to create the shank later, because we want to open those rings. It has to have the same angle when you are filing, just to connect them right. The only mistake I used to make usually, I used to file too big of an angle, because you don't need that much. Actually, you need quite tiny angle just to open the ring like this. And then we're soldering, and we have to be pretty even to get up those 2 rings, and then we will connect them into one beautiful shank. When it comes to opening, better to have smaller angle there, because we can adjust it a bit more later on. Now we have to prepare our elements or details. So this part is very customized, because you will put whatever you want on that ring, but I will show you how to solder details, bigger ones and smaller ones, how I do that on a shank ring. So the main key here is not to kind of solder fully, because we want to just kind of stick that part on the ring, and then we will correct the placement later, because it's very hard when the piece is not even, like the detail is not even, to solder that correctly and make the shape correctly. So that's why we're using a very lightweight hammer. It has to be very lightweight because we don't want to change the size of the ring. We want that those details would be like hugging the ring more. And when we will come back and solder other details on, this we can correct easily as well to melt that solder in place where it has to be. And now you're seeing how I'm preparing few discs, one smaller one and one bigger one, for pearls to be on this ring. It has to be like a chair for them to sit on. So it depends on the size of the pearl. That's what we're seeking here, to create the same shape as the pearl has. That's why we're using this cube to go through sizes and make the size that we want. Now is the fitting part. We have to see if everything fits correctly, and we go to soldering station. Now we're using hooded base, which is moldable base to keep your piece in the same piece after soldering, actually. So it's a huge helper if you want to put lots of elements and solder on the same go. If you know how I work, I never work with other solder, just with a hard solder. And that means we always have the same temperature when it's melting. So if you don't want your pieces that you soldered before remelt again, you can isolate them like I showed you in my last video, where I'm putting rouge mixed with water on the piece. In those places I don't want to remelt my solder. We have more tricks how to do that, but we will talk about them later on this channel. And now we have to talk about the soldering. So we're making balls out of solder and putting them exactly where we want them would melt. It's easier to control it that way, and it's easier not to overdo with your solder. Keep that in mind. Always better to come back to solder than put way too much of solder in your piece and then have to polish that out later on. Finally, we're making a very small bezel setting for this gorgeous blue topaz I showed you in the beginning. For that, I'm using a mandrel from my jump ring maker. So if you don't have one, I would suggest take same size of the pencil, something. When the bezel is round, it's not hard to find something that you already have for that shape. And we're soldering the bezel. I was using whatever flame I had on my table, but I don't recommend go with bigger flame. If you are beginner, I really don't recommend. So now we are making the placement for our bezel setting. And I made a bottom part as well for that small bezel, sneakily. And again, soldering that in place with multiple base, because we need that one. Everything would be falling apart if we won't use it. Now we're soldering the last step on this ring, because we want to put our pearls very securely and not to use just glue on the bottom. And for that is a must to use third hands as well, because now we're kind of manipulating how the heat is spreading, and we want the hottest part would be just that place where the wire connects with a pearl setting there. Because the wire is pretty thin, I think it was 1 millimeter. I'm not sure exactly because it depends on the hole which is in your pearl. We have reached the sanding part, which is the least favorite part of mine in making jewelry. but it's a must. We have to do it. And for that, I'm using very abrasive wheel. So I'm going with the lightest hand in this part. I want to get rid of just the solder that I don't want to have on my piece. And then changing that to radial disc, which is the red one, which stands for 220 grit. So be careful with your hand pressure, always keep it light. And we're switching to a blue one, which is 400 grit. We're finishing everything off with some Tripoli compound, going more precisely into those settings with different brushes. I would recommend always be creative with your polishing, with your making. Find sizes that works for you, find brushes that works for you. It takes some practice, but when you feel it, you get more creative. Don't stuck on same stuff all the time. Sometimes even changing one brush can make your piece different. Okay, I took it out from my tumbler just to clean that a bit more, but I was going with very slow speed just to not ruin my textures. So basically keep it as it is, not to add more, but just to harden a bit. Sometimes I'm not putting in the tumbler. It depends on the piece, how soft it is, do I really need that tumbler, and something like that, you know? Because I usually prefer the finish, how I'm creating that, and Tumblr is reading that. So that's why sometimes I have hate and love relationship with that Tumblr. If you like that very light view and that shiny view, Tumblr is the way to go. We need those spikes here because we will be setting our pearls on them. So I will show you how I set my pearls usually. And we need to set a blue topaz also in this small tiny setting that we created. So we will put patina now. Let's do that. And if I'm putting patina on, I always wear gloves and I always wear mask. That I wouldn't breathe anything that I don't want to breathe in. And if I want to be very specific where I'm putting my patina, I always use small brush. Sometimes I use fillable brush. I just fill my patina in that brush and go just with it. So we're creating that patina effect on this piece. You know, it's very hard to pronounce all the words correctly. I really do make a lot of mistakes, but we have to make mistakes, right? Now all just left stones in. And it's pretty easy part because we made kind of easy settings here. We are just making sure we have the right length of the wire. And voila. Okay, we're done here. We created a very beautiful SeaWorld ring. I really like to call it that way. I hope you learned something new or just enjoy that creative process with me. And I hope you like it. And I will see you in my next one.